just a quick round of introductions. I'm Joydeep, co-founder at ClearFeed, and today I have with me Anish, who is head of support at crypto.com. So without much ado, I'll just let Anish introduce himself a little bit. And that was also my first question to him. Just, kind of give us a little bit, tell us a little bit about your background and your journey. And, then hopefully, we'll have an interesting session around what you do and, support at crypto and all kinds of topics. So over to you, Anish.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Joydeep, for this time. So currently, basically overall, I have around 14 years of experience with support. Long back, well, I say long back, but maybe not that long. I started my career with a company called Healthstrong, which used to do projects for Barclays. So that's where my fintech industry journey started in Barclays, doing L2 support for fixed income and a little bit of FX, right? After that, I basically moved on to Societe Generale, the French bank, and then I came to this UK group called IG Group, FTSE 100 company. Learned a lot in that company overall, and then after that, I am currently in Crypto.com from last 3 years, 3.5 years. Overall, I think I see my role as looking at 4 different pillars from my point, from support perspective. One is technical onboarding. The other one is what we do with releases, right? And the bread and butter for us is basically incident management, right? Troubleshooting and incident management.
Got it.
And the fourth one is client satisfaction or customer success, right? For B2B partners, we don't do retail, but basically that's how I see our team working in these under these 4 pillars. So that's basically a little bit of my background and also what I do generally day-to-day stuff.
Actually, before we, go deeper into sort of your team and role and stuff, like tell us a little bit about your company. It's a seems like a very famous sort of a brand name,
Yeah.
crypto.com,
Yes. Yes.
as an awesome domain name. So, I think the audience may love
Yeah.
to first understand, what does your company do? What is the core product and technology, and who are your typical customers that you are yourself also supporting as part of your role?
Yeah, so there's a small distinction, well, not a small, but pretty big distinction in product type of what I support. So I don't directly support crypto as an asset or a product. I basically work in the domain of prediction market, and that's why my background is basically a stadium because it's a sports market, and that's why I thought I'll choose this, which will make it clearer. So currently, if you see, sports prediction market is a huge buzz with Kalsi, Polymarket, right? And us in the mix. Plus, there are other major players like Fanatics and DraftKings who are doing a lot of things in this market. It has become a hugely popular. But on the core business of crypto, before we as a crypto's arm of prediction market came in, we were bought by crypto.com from IG Group in around, I think, 2019-20. And then we became an arm of crypto.com. Before that, crypto.com was basically an exchange, where you can buy and sell cryptos, right? So that
Right.
was their primary business. And we have basically 2 things. One is an exchange, and one is a app, which is basically on what do we say on the there's a particular word for it. I'm forgetting it. It's like a trading between 2 people, right? Bilateral trading. So there's an app
Mhm.
for that, and then there is an exchange now. So that's basically from crypto's product point of view, but I am more inclined towards or more vested towards the prediction market overall.
So who are your customers?
So our customers are basically the retail clients of the large B2B clients that we onboard. So we are
Okay.
an exchange. So the way it works out is we need to, so for any exchange to work, you have to have makers and takers, right? So
Right.
makers are the liquidity providers and takers are the people or users who will buy or sell the product, right?
Right.
So to make that happen for an exchange, liquidity is quite very important. For that, we have a lot of big partners who provides liquidity in our exchange. Basically, liquidity is how many people are willing to buy and sell both sides, right? Those are market makers. And then the other side of takers are basically the big sports companies.
Got it.
They basically have a huge client base and they come to our exchange and then trade on their from their brokerage, from their broker point of view. So in Indian terms, it's like National Stock Exchange. Zerodha is a broker, right? But because these exchanges are huge, you don't really need a liquidity providers, right?
Right.
Because there are too many people there already providing liquidity and hedge funds,
Right.
which does the job already. So
Right.
that's basically the setup on a very high level.
And so your team is mostly working with the large B2B liquidity providers and not so much the retail clients.
So, so the way it works out is the face of the retail client is basically the company. So let's say, for example, uh, DraftKings, right? DraftKings
Mhm.
has a huge retail client base. For us, we only talk to DraftKings, right?
Got it.
They bring the clients. We don't know about the clients. If they have a problem with their clients, then they come to us and then we give them an answer depending on the situation.
Understood. Very interesting. Yeah, I've heard of DraftKings, hearing it
Yeah.
about the name after a long time. So that's a very interesting name that you have
Yeah.
mentioned. Cool. So I'd love to get a little bit deeper into kind of like, what a company I am. I'm a product person, right? So I'm always curious about, what the product actually does. And so maybe a good question to understand this might be, what are like some of the common sort of problems that you are asked to sort of you face, that customer support and that your team has to work on and resolve? Like maybe a couple of sort of examples would kind of, give some grounding to the whole sort of company abstraction.
Yeah. So there are very limited types of issues that can happen to a client, a retail client. But there are different types of problems that can come between a B2B partnership, right? So for a retail client, what you see is if they are coming to the exchange, their KYC has to happen, right?
Right.
And then once the KYC is done, they want to trade. They can have problems of depositing the funds, or uh, or when they win or lose uh, on the contract. So in the money or out of the money in the contracts, right? Either they get paid sometimes incorrectly, or this something else happens. Maybe their fund gets stuck somewhere, right? Those are the very basic and usual questions that can come from a retail client. However, the B2B client is a different beast, right?
Right.
So there, what happens is our integrations can break, right?
Right.
There can be on our technical onboarding, a lot of questions comes like how does the fixed protocol work, right? What
Right.
happens in fixed group? I'm trying to send a particular type of message. I'm not getting the right message that the ROE says. What is happening here, right? Those kind of things. So that kind of
Right.
problems coming. Other part of the
Right.
problem from the business point of view is your compliance documents, legal, and
Right.
what kind of things. But those are basically an onboarding set of problems that we generally see.
Right. Okay, I can
And
make
then
sense of this.
our
So I think,
yeah
this sounds
yeah
like
yeah
crypto infrastructure as a service, right? Like I've always been a cloud guy, so I think I can relate to like sort of, I run machines as a service, I run data and analytics as a service. You are sort of running crypto sort of infrastructure, crypto protocols, and APIs,
I
I
would
guess,
I would say it is platform as a service. I would say
platform as
exchange
a
as a
service.
like a marketplace, right? In
Right.
a quick
Yeah.
commerce or commerce point of view, it's a marketplace where both sides can come. We are
Right.
providing the platform. You do whatever you
Right.
want to do after that.
So before I go, back into crypto, let me just, continue on your personal journey a little bit. So you've, been sort of, as part of the fintech and kind of in the support space for now, like as you mentioned, like, 14 odd years.
Yeah,
Um, what are the big changes you've seen in the course of your career,
yeah,
in the last
yeah.
1.5 decades?
I I think the time when I started. I think it was support was seen as people who will execute things, right? Do not ask questions. You execute what is given to you, right?
Right.
But with over time period, plus as and when you grow in the mature, you become a little more mature in the system, then and overall the system also has started growing into become into support being seen as a gatekeeper rather than a executioner, right?
Right.
So when you are tagged as an executioner, you don't ask questions and you execute irrespective of the outcome, right?
Right.
But when you become a gatekeeper, you are executing what is being told, but you are also asking question of how does it impact my production systems, right? So that's one thing that I saw as a mid journey from starting career to my mid career. I saw that, okay, this is how I have changed. This is how teams have changed. This is how the management expects you to take things forward, right? However, now what I see is a little more a better version of support where we are expected to do things that nobody is basically looking at, right? So sometimes you play a role of a delivery manager, sometimes
Right.
you play a role of a project manager, sometimes you play a role of automation engineer, right? All those things. Now, what is this basically doing is adding in more value to a execution team by giving a real good outcome that you can show to the management or to anybody who wants to see, right? So you have either reduced your man hours or either you have made two three teams come together, make sure that everybody is
Right.
talking to each other and then making a decision which is right for the organization, right? So that's how I
Right.
see the evolution in the industry at this point with support.
Right. Right. So it's kind of like the role is moving up the value chain, right? Like from
Correct.
pure sort of
Yes.
reactive troubleshooting to kind of being more of a decision maker to now actually playing a role in the customer life cycle in terms of onboarding and kind of shepherding some of the
Yep.
projects and things like that. Yeah, that has also been
Yep.
my very strong experience. But how do you coordinate that with other teams who are also maybe doing the same thing, right? Because at large companies, you also have like customer success teams, solutions architects, and
Yep.
other sort of field engineers and so on. How does that look
Yeah.
like inside your company?
So the major problem, and I think this problem happens with every other company, is your project managers, right? And your architects have a certain viewpoint or a certain view, not viewpoint, rather a view, which is which also has a lot of blind spots. So
Right,
a PMO person can know certain things up till a point, but don't know how does this go into production, right? What happens after something goes live? What are you going to do about it, right? So that transition life cycle is usually the place where a support person can become a really good value add, and they can then sort of take the baton from project management or product manager and say that, okay, once it comes to production or up till production, it's your job. Once you deliver that, then from here on, how do I manage the life cycle of this software? How do I make sure that there is a period of extra care? How do you make sure that the right people are in there who can help fix your problems faster, right? So that kind of value add is what how we work basically at this point. And sometimes, and then what happens with support teams is because we work with multiple different teams. So we work with development team, we work with infrastructure team, we work with vendors, right? We have a 360-degree view. We might not have an architectural understanding of
right,
everything, but we are basically, we understand a lot of things that not many people can connect dots to, right? And that
right,
gives you an advantage of doing things.
right. Yeah, fantastic. Um, any other broader sort of like, just going back to the previous question of the changes you have observed over the last decade and a half, any other things that come to your mind? Big things?
Obviously, the recent is the hot topic is AI, right? That has
Yes.
made huge, huge.
Okay, so we'll have
right?
a good
No.
chat around that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I see. Actually,
yeah.
why don't we just go into that since you brought it up, right? So,
Sure.
yeah, tell us about how it has impacted your team.
Yeah.
What are you doing right now with it? What are your plans? What is anything on your mind, please?
So, I'll tell you how I think of this whole thing will work out. And then I'll tell you first what is happening right now, and then I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. So obviously the current expectation from everybody is that we will suddenly become 100x or 10x more productive, right?
Right,
Today. So
right,
you have been given a license and now you are expected to produce 10x more,
right,
right? Whether it works for us or not is a question that time will tell, right?
right,
So, but in day-to-day smaller stuff, it has definitely made us productive. So some examples like this is I used to spend hours reading the data, making a timeline of an incident, and then making a post-incident report, right? Now it takes me less than 20, 25 minutes to do all of that because AI has all the data. As long as it is in my Teams chat or a Slack chat, and I give it enough context, it gives me an excellent PIR report. Except what it can't do is a subjective understanding of an RCA, right? So it
right,
can give you an AI LLM currently can give you a RCA which is based on facts of what has happened, but it cannot give you why the decision was made where you failed, right?
right,
So maybe it was because there was a rush on the deadline, right? Maybe your team was working too hard and failed through because people were fatigued, whatever. These things LLMs can't tell you because they don't understand this context. But factual RCA can be taken out anytime in less than 15-20 minutes if you give the right context and in a pretty good PIR. I would not write that well, right? Anytime.
right, right,
So that's
right.
yeah, that has definitely helped us, right? It can
Got
help
it.
us with some things like a fixed protocol. Fixed protocol or a Swift protocols are things which are deterministic, right? If I send a 35 equals to D, I'm going to get a message which is exactly what it is supposed to get, right? A fixed engine tells you that. So it's a very deterministic in nature. So if somebody asks you tomorrow today, Joydeep, let's say you don't know fixed protocol, you ask me a question. I don't have to reply to you on that. An AI can easily reply to you and say that, hey, this is how my fix rules say, rules of engagement says. This is my wiki page says. Here is an answer to you, right? Which is what we are using with our ClearFeed as well, right? ClearFeed AI. So that's a good part from there, right? Now I come to this thing of what I think happens in future. I think in recent future, you will see categorization of population in an organization into two or three different parts, where people will be given costly to cheaper LLMs depending on their output or outcome,
Hmm.
right? So 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 you go and find a great engineer. He will be using maybe the most recent, most costly, most token expensive or token hungry LLMs, and
Right,
he will get better outputs out of that. Whereas you
right,
go to a business team, you go to a support team, they will use a cheaper alternative to the same. And then
right,
there will be a mass enterprise level free AI, which will be given to everybody just to do the generic stuff, right? Read your email, make action items, take notes on the email, and those kind of stuff, right? That's how I feel our token usage is going to move. And even after that, there is some more problems to it. Currently, what is happening is the bigger challenge here is not just the cost of the token usage, but how the tokens are being used, right?
mm,
So currently, what happens is you are given a AI license, and the company says that, hey, you got this license, start using it, make yourself 10x productive, right?
right,
But that's like now what I see is I see a small set of problem in front of me and I try to fix that, and it saves me, let's say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 1 hour of my day, right?
right,
However, it cannot be a great outcome for an organization unless you create a AI framework. So what I say by AI framework, or a concentrated effort of making sure all your data is vectorized and kept in
Right.
one place and under an MCP, right? You have all your log data, you have all your Grafana data, or you have all your wiki pages in one place, and then you can query that data in one place. Now, what happens is you have higher context, you have already the LLMs already know the answers. It just has to pick the answer. I think indexing becomes faster because of that,
Right.
and then your results become much better, right? Now, once you have given that framework to everybody, what you have done is you have built a centralized tooling. Now that tool as an MCP is available, and then you can get answer instead of expecting a business guy to write a skill by getting AI.
Right.
You have already
Right.
written something on the background. You just have to question it
So you
now,
build
right?
the environment once with all the MCPs and the skills, put it somewhere very accessible, and the business team just uses it, doesn't have to reinvent the wheel and cook up all those
Exactly.
things again. Right. Right. Makes a
Yes,
lot of sense.
yes,
Yeah.
right. And
I think
yeah, that's where I think
that's
outcome will come.
yeah, I think that's obviously where we as vendors and product builders are also obviously trying to go. There's so one thing I'm curious about is just to get some more context for our viewers. Like, so when you mentioned the use of AI in the kinds of use cases that you have mentioned, are you exposing these AI bots directly to your customers, or are you using them more as assistants for your team to use and resolve incidents?
Yeah, currently I think we are in a very early stage. So
Right.
we are using it as an assistance rather than
Assistant. Yeah.
exposing it to them directly. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Also, this customer success is a very tricky thing. People don't like non-human interactions that much. Right.
Precisely. I was going to say that. Yeah. I mean, I think
Uh,
our experiences drive so much. I'll definitely add a few bits and I'll let you finish and then add my
yeah.
point of view.
No, that's all. You can add. You can go ahead and add. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things, we are also kind of like supporting B2B customers, right? I mean, just for context, like our product is a support platform that is used by customers like you. So we are also B2B.
Yeah.
And one of the things I find is, we have built a lot of bots and they do reply to customers directly through some of the channels, but we always end up sort of taking over at some point and kind of adding like a human touch to it because it just feels
Yeah.
awkward to have sort of some key stakeholder just get a reply from a bot. But what I did find I feel very interesting is that if you can open up your bots in a more private manner. So, for example, if you can have a private chat interface for your customers where they can ask some simple questions at least, right? I feel like that's a pretty decent experience because you're making it very clear that there is no human behind the scenes. Like it's just a pure chatbot
Yeah. Yeah.
experience. You are just enabling
Right.
them a faster gateway to your documentation or maybe even their own accounts information or whatever you are able to expose. And that expectation is very different, right? They don't expect to talk to humans.
Correct.
And it's also private, right? So they can ask all kinds of silly
Yeah.
questions and not be embarrassed about it. And I think that's something that's is a good win, I feel.
I think that's a very good point. I think something I maybe once we mature a little bit might be helpful because currently what happens with our technical onboarding is so not a lot of companies use Fix, right? Everybody uses APIs, but nobody uses Fix as an integration unless you are forced to do this, right? We as an exchange we use it because it has some merits to those Fix integrations, right? It is fast, it is just numbers and whatnot. Uh, so I think that's a very good point that can be actually utilized and actually experimented on is you give them a place where they can ask these questions while onboarding phase, and then they can get all their answers. They don't have to read the docs. Problem with one
Right,
of these onboarding things is you send them all the onboarding pack, right?
right,
Does everybody in their organization also have time to read all of this? Most probably
right.
not, right?
Yeah, no,
So
I think
currently,
nobody's going to read docs. They're just going to use a
yeah,
LLM to sort of get answers from docs. I think we've already crossed that bridge. I think. I just want to close this part of the discussion with a very quick and pointed question. There is also this sort of vein of thought that AI will completely replace human, particularly I think in customer support. That sentiment is very strong
yeah,
that hey, now we have such smart bots. They are like cracking. open maths problems and like whatnot, right? So,
Yep.
what quick, 2 minute perspective on that? Do you see that happening, or how do you see that playing out?
So it will replace most of the people, but not all. So I think there will, what will happen is basically you will have few customer support, excellent customer support guys who will always be there to help
Right,
out. And
right,
and that's how it will work. So instead
right,
of 40 customer support people, you'll have four, and that
right,
four will be helped with whatever bots are required to help them out.
right, right. And as you already explained, I think those four people have already moved up the value chain. They are much more sort of
Yes.
part-time project managers, implementation specialists, and their profile is
Yeah.
closer to what used to be a solutions architect than a typical sort of support engineer. This is the other thing I just wanted to quickly touch upon is we are looking at a world that seems to be transitioning from traditional support tools, which were very transactional, right? Send an email, open a
Yep.
ticket, get a response, to this kind of more collaborative, chat oriented. That's how I know that you guys are using our product for a lot of Slack support. So I
Yep.
wanted to just pick your brains on that as well. What are you seeing there, and how has that part of the support technology and experience landscape changed again in the last say 10, 15 years?
Yeah. So from a Slack point of view, right, I think Slack has changed a lot of things, or this multi organizations coming to the same platform and talking to each other live has definitely changed it, because earlier what would happen is you create a ticket, you meet a
Right,
faceless person
right,
who would reply back to you with something, right? So the expectation was that you get a ticket, you have an SLA, you reply back on that, and then interaction becomes either great or frustrating or slow or fast, whatever, right? Depending on what's the situation. With Slack, what it has become is it has become more human, right?
right,
Now you are talking to someone like a person, and you do not have to write a very professional English as well. Like people I see are using all kinds of emojis now with a client who we would have never thought we would use those kind of languages, right? So language as a whole also has changed. Ticketing has reduced overall because you are not going to create a lot of tickets from everything that is being asked on a Slack, right? So that has
right.
happened. So I think I might be telling you something which is not really what you would expect. I think human interactions has increased because of
Because of this kind of
chat,
Slack and all this stuff. Yeah,
this kind of this kind of things. Human interaction has increased. Whether it will completely go away with bots, I don't think that will happen.
right,
Um, I think there will still remain a lot of human interaction overall from support point of view. Only thing I think will remain a very SaaS oriented thing would be when an incident happens, right?
right,
So when an incident happens, people do want those tickets created where you need the tooling to, create a ticket for you and present it there. You want
right,
a message that flows out every 15, 20 minutes. So tooling helps
right,
you there, right? So
right,
those kind of things would still be SaaS related stuff where they would be still be there.
right, right. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think we've also invested in building kind of these traditional incident management kind of sort of periodic alerts kind of stuff. I know we still have ways to
Yeah.
go, but that seems to be there are some parts that are very classic and kind of you have to made them to the more forward moving parts. So I think we are close to,
Yeah.
we will run out of time in about 5 minutes. I wanted to
Sure.
just, one of the things I wanted to, so you have been, building support teams for a while now.
Yep.
Obviously, you have hired and worked with a lot of people. So just wanted to pick your brains a little bit on the people management side. Like what do you look
Sure.
for in when you hire people for support roles in your industry, for example? What are the attributes you're looking
Yeah.
for? How do you find good people? And how do you feel that is changing in the world of AI?
Okay. So I always say that interview is a gambling option.
Mhm.
You either get it right or you don't get it right, right? But it is a dice, right? You either get it right or you get it wrong, right? With time, you might have some intuitions of, okay, this might work, this might not work, and you have some kind of ratio. And a lot of people comes to you and tells you that, hey, I will remove this diciness from your interview systems and whatnot, right? But that is only possible to a fact that something of an objective question can be asked, right? So if you are a coder, right, if you are a developer, you can give them a question, and then if they do it, that's great, right? And then you know that this guy can do it, right? But does that answer translate into a great productivity in the team? May or may not be, right? So
Right.
generally what I am looking for is somebody who is uh, who is open to new things. That's one of the
Mhm.
things. Who has a kind of a, learning and can do attitude, right? So
Right.
if they want to do things, if they want to, learn new things, if they say that, okay, I don't know this at this point of time, but I can learn and I can do it. Or and another great thing is independently able to do stuff, right? You do not wait for someone to tell you that, hey, you need to do this, you need to pick up this work, or you need to think about this manual work which you have been doing, and you need to make it faster, automate it, repetition and whatnot, right? So that independent thinker overall on
Right.
how to keep improving, that is the kind of attitude that I would generally look for. And the other thing I have found is, you hire people who you know, because you know their limitations and you know their where they are excellent.
Right.
And depending on that, you have a great fit in the team, or you know that, okay, this guy currently does not fit our bill because I already know what his kind of things are, right? With AI, I don't know how much it helps. I am not these attitude problems, whether AI will be able to find out or not, is a very hard question. I don't know the answer to it. Maybe it will
Or
find
you
out
mean
in
in terms of
some
like
time.
AI is the interview tool itself and kind of like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if it
I
will
mean,
be possible.
yeah, it's a tough one, right?
Yeah,
Because I think
yeah,
interviews are always, as you mentioned, you see somebody, um, they're trying to be at their best. Whereas when
correct.
you're
Yes,
working for 8 hours a day, you can't be always at your best. Then you're observing somebody at more of their, average performance. And so, there's, I
correct.
think those are not never going to be bridgeable. And in fact,
Yeah,
AI is also making the interview problem worse because people are actually using AI to kind of crack interviews and sort
yeah,
of,
exactly.
have a
Yeah,
second terminal, and like it's leading to all kinds of
yeah,
sort of adversarial problems in the
yeah.
interview. So great, awesome. So I think
Yes,
we
yes.
are close to sort of the end of our time. I really enjoyed this chat. Anything else that you would like to sort of add as we close the discussion? And particularly, I think one of the things I sometimes ask people is, as an experienced veteran in this field, what are your advice to other people who are kind of entering the discipline today? What advice you would give, or and of course, you're free to sort of anything else on your mind. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
happy. Please, please go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. uh, I want to add one point which I thought I should speak about overall is, whenever you introduce a new tool, right? So a new tool or a new process overall, um, you have two approaches to any of these things. One is a top-down approach where you force people to use things, right? So those kind of things are useful in regulatory compliance point of view, where you say that, hey, this
Right.
is the process, you
Right.
do it, right? You have no
Right.
way to get away with it. However,
Right.
the right way to do these things is basically to make sure the tooling is rightly, what do we say, fixed or rightly tightened, right? Then you make
Right.
things field mandatory. You say that this is how you have to do. You do not leave it on person to themselves regulate and then do things, right? So that's your top-down approach, but with help of tooling. The second approach to using any tool or new process is basically how you let people realize what the issue is, or realize the issue is there, and then how do we find a solution to it, right? So that gives you a kind of organic way to make sure the team members you are working with use it more often, and then they also come back with some feedback saying that, okay, this works, this doesn't work, let's use it for 2 weeks, find out what's going on, and that way, right? And that's the way we have used ClearFeed up till now. It has worked for us in a lot of ways. And in certain places it hasn't worked for us, right? And it's not because of any shortcomings to ClearFeed, but it is because our needs are sometimes different, right? And then that happens because of every organization has some different needs. So that's one thing that I really wanted to point out in any kind of procedural work or in operations work. This is very important that people own or people
You get a buy-in
actually
from your
take it
team,
to buy in. Exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah. You get a
That's a
buy-in
very
from
interesting point
from
of
the
view. I
place.
have struggled with this, and I, because so I've also obviously, kind of done a lot of frontline support as part of the various startups I've worked with, and also in larger companies, as well as, I'm an engineer and a product person. And one thing I realize is that support is very different from, particularly from engineering, because you need to be a little bit process oriented, because there are
Yep.
metrics you care about. You need to be responsive to customers. You need to, and also you have a team, and you kind of need to collaborate and sort of coordinate in real time, and sort of, be seen as responsive. You have the NPS ratings and all that stuff, right? It's very different from engineering, where honestly, like, um, the um, there is a lot more room for chaos and creativity,
Yes.
because that kind of is actually the heart of the job. Like, you have to create
Yeah.
new things, and sort of like you can't really do that while maintaining a 5 minute response time. So just like different, very different jobs, right? So I'm
Yeah.
very
Yes.
curious,
Yes.
how you balance the this bottoms up philosophy with the fact that you have to have a process, right, and a very
Yeah. Yeah.
well known process that everybody has to follow, at least
Yeah.
to some extent,
So the the process will remain same.
right?
How you end up
Achieving it.
satisfying that process changes
Got it.
it, changes the
Got
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
your team would still, I'm sure you still ask your team to, hey, what are your issues, and how long they have been open, and make sure you close them out. Like, those are set in stone, but
Yeah.
how you do it is
Yeah.
you are leaving it up to them.
Correct.
Got it.
Yes. Either you make it the hard way because you are comfortable with it, or you make it the easier with the tools provided. Your wish, right? But then
Right.
you finally judge yourself that are you doing the right thing, right? And
Right.
also it is very important that you nudge people to use it, but not using a authority, but rather as
Right.
a, hey, I did this way, it helped me. Do you want to try this as well this way, right? And it works
Right.
well. There is also a balance of how long you go this approach versus no, I can't do this anymore because things are breaking down. My process is
Right.
not there. I'm not
Right.
satisfying some numbers and whatnot. And then you use the authority from there on.
Right. Right. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Very, very, and I think this is experience speaking. I think typically, with a good amount of experience, you start realizing, you got to like just sort of like step back, not micromanage things, and kind of
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's always a very difficult sort of trade-off. Anisha, thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
us here today. I really love the chat, and I wish, I'm sure we could go on for, an hour more, maybe easily, but, I think we'll just keep it short. And, I got some
Yeah.
great
Sure.
sound bites and some great nuggets of wisdom, and, I hope, that's also useful for the audience. And yeah, I mean, look forward to, working with your team. I know we have been helping you with sort of B2B support for the last few months, and, look forward to helping you continue to succeed and scale in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for your time. And I must say
Yeah.
that I have got excellent support from uh, ClearFeed team. So yeah, thanks for solving some of my
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah. All right. Great. Thank you so much. We'll talk
Yes. Thank
again.
you.